David Eichholt and Sean Bach here from HawkeyeInsider.com, part 24/7 Sports Network. Iowa with a 77-58 win over Western Illinois. Different flow of the game. Ben McCollum said he was more proud of tonight than a couple nights ago. But, Sean, I guess let's just start with your top takeaway for the night.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there. I think the first thing that Ben McCollum said right when he came into the press conference to talk to the media was that he was more proud of his guys tonight than he was against Robert Morris, because obviously there was some hype coming into this game considering what happened in the last outing against Robert Morris, style of play, whatnot. But you could tell that it kind of felt like there was less flow offensively. And that's one of the things that I picked up. I mean, I know they were efficient from the field.
Yeah.
But you could kind of see Western Illinois doing certain things on both ends of the floor that kind of seemed to take Iowa out of its rhythm a little bit compared to what Robert Morris was doing and kind of feeding in to what, Iowa wanted to do on both ends of the floor on Tuesday night. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily the best performance in terms of, okay, this is what the system is going to be like. This is what the offense is going to look like. It really just seems stagnant from time to time. But you come away with a pretty solid victory and you're able to pull away. And outside the first couple of minutes, it never really was in doubt. And I know it's Western Illinois, but these are kind of the things that, different teams are going to have different scouts for you. Different teams are going to have different, abilities and strengths, and that's going to take things away from you. So to see them come out in that way and, be able to react from that, it was a positive for sure.
I think also, too, Ben felt like that was a great game plan by Western Illinois, and he said he did not have a great night coaching, but he credited them for making difficult shots. And he also didn't really have much panic to him. I mean, he said his two best shooters went 1 for 10 from the field. Tate Sage, who I thought was outstanding defensively, especially in that second half, and Brendan Housen. It wasn't their night, but he said, look, they were getting open shots. We're going to take it every single time. So, again, I think no panic despite – I mean, again, they shot, 52, 53% from the field?
Iowa was 52% from the field, 40% from three. 40% from three in both halves, too. So
yeah. I mean, I just think he really didn't seem panicked about the flow of things. He wanted it to be more cleaned up. But Iowa, again, they weren't turning the ball over. Did get in some difficult spots. And, again, Bennett Sturts is Bennett Sturts. He really kind of got them out of a jam when things went stagnant.
For sure. But, I mean, we talk about Bennett, and he's been one of the big, positives through the first couple of games, and that's as expected. But Alvaro Fulggeras, Robert Morris transfer, who I think a lot of people had super high expectations for. And then, he didn't really have the best offseason in terms of, I wouldn't say he didn't have the best offseason, but he was there were some more maybe question marks that popped up for him. I think people were like, oh, how's this going to translate from a game perspective, but also a motor perspective. And Ben had a number of different comments, which I think ultimately fired up Alvaro too, because he's a very emotional guy. He's looked really comfortable in the system, whether that's, pick and pop game. He's looked comfortable as a passer. I think he had 5 assists today,
he did.
Which was a very, positive thing. And, coming off the bench too. And I mean, defensively, he had those first two, he had like 2 or 3 steals in the first 5 minutes that he was on the court. So that was a really positive sign. And he's been really productive for Iowa this year, because this was kind of one of those games where, yes, guys outside of Bennett Sturts contributed, but you're going to have more guys outside of Bennett, come up in games. Like, I know Xavier obviously hasn't had the best start to the year. They're 2-0. But you're going to have more than Bennett in those types of games and throughout the Big Ten slate. So to see Alvaro kind of step into that second role with this team as kind of the second best player and second most efficient player, I think that's been a real big positive. And I mean, not just offensively, but both ends of the floor, he's looked really comfortable.
I mean, he's lived up to the challenge, because that was kind of the big thing from Ben and Media Day when talking about him. He said, look, he can string together 1-2 minute stretches, but he wants that to be 4 and 5 minute stretches. And like you said, he was like that off the rip, and he's very self-aware too. Like, he came in the press conference and said, look, you guys know I'm an emotional player. And I flat out asked him how he's kind of stepped up to the challenge. He said, I'll come off the bench. I'm going to do whatever they need. Sometimes he doesn't say anything to me, and he expects me to go out there and understand. But any really final takeaways outside of, like you said, the backcourt needs to be better, especially in the first half. There were a lot of empty minutes, I would say, so to speak. But again, another guy I just think deserves a shout out, Isaiah Howard.
Yes.
He is a world of upside, incredibly active on the glass, even in terms of tip outs, his perimeter on-ball pressure, the way he reacts to screens. And, again, he's a freak athlete too.
Yeah, he was very good. And if he can be that kind of secondary ball handler option, which it's kind of evident that Iowa seems to be missing in these first 2 games, if he can step up and be in that role and also, defend both ways and kind of be a versatile defender, but also hit an open three. I mean, he knocked down that first 3-pointer in the first half. He almost had another one that went in, but then didn't attempt one for the rest of the game. But if he can add that to his game, along with being able to take guys off the bounce and being able to, be a really good cutter and a guy that kind of just feels like he knows what he's going to do before the pass comes to him, that's a really big step for this Iowa team because they need more of that. They need more guys that are capable of scoring and stepping up, and also shooting too. Like Iowa was 10 of 15 from three, but you mentioned it earlier. Hausen and Sage, two of Iowa's best shooters, were 1 of 10 from three, and McCollum's like, that's not really going to happen. I mean, obviously it could happen, but
likely won't
happen. And that if they would have had 3 or 4 threes go down at certain points of the game, it probably would have been a different result in this one.
I think the other final thing before we wrap up here is the rebounding woes are still, we knew that was going to be a big question mark, but they're really going to have to turn up the intensity on that on both ends of the floor. But I know you're going to have your full takeaways sometime here in the next day. It's going to be a really busy weekend at HawkeyeInsider.com. Iowa, Oregon tomorrow. I'm going to have coverage of the women's game. But a lot more to come with this Ben McCollum. And by the way, the crowd I thought was a little bit better than the opener.
I thought the capacity was great. I didn't think the energy
was fantastic.
As great as it could have been.
Yeah.
But also Ben mentioned it too. They didn't really give him much there weren't really many runs where this game where you're kind of like, oh man, like this will really get the crowd
juiced up.
Yeah.
So again, for David Eichel, for Sean Block, we have much more to come. So stay locked in to Hawkeye Insider.